Joining us now on the broadcast is Dr. Michael Barak, who is a senior researcher at the Reichman University in Israel. Dr. Barak, appreciate you joining us and taking out the time to share your thoughts on this. Now, we've seen a spate of videos of the Hamas atrocities that have been surfacing. What is your assessment of the planning and the methodology of terror that they've employed?
Yes, Hamas is presented himself as a pragmatic movement who is dedicated only to allegedly national battle against Israel, but the atrocities and the brutal actions that we saw in Gaza strips portray Hamas in a very bad image, and this is even worse than ISIS. What ISIS did was to massacre people, but Hamas got further and even made worse things when he got outside the babies from inside the bellies of women. This is something that it's forbidden in Islam, and Hamas tried to justify it by different explanations. Hamas is definitely worse than ISIS, worse than Al-Qaeda, but again, they have the same goal. They want to purify the landscape from non-Muslims, and they are not afraid to do it in any way. Hamas is, Hamas is educating his children from young age to hate Israel, and we saw it in last week when they butchered and massacred small children in their beds in Israeli towns in the south of Israel. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised that Hamas did such an actions, but he tried to portray itself as a pragmatic movement, and after the brutal things in the south, it changed his image, and now he's even worse than ISIS.
Dr. Barak, so now we know that the stated aim of the Israeli Defense Forces is to now move into northern Gaza. We haven't seen it start yet because an evacuation time is being given. How do you see this unfolding?
Look, Israel, all these years, when Hamas got to power in 2007, when he managed to expel Fatah and PLO members from Gaza Strip, he got to power, and then he tried to challenge Israel by launching missile rockets inside the civilian towns inside Israel. Israel was trying to find a way to negotiate with Hamas to reach to an agreement how to coexist in some way. So Israel gave permission to Qatar to send money to Hamas, allowed to Gazan workers to get inside Israel to work. Only last few months ago, Israeli government gave a permission to Gaza workers to get inside, increase the numbers of the Gaza workers to get inside Israel to work. But Hamas neglected all of these, and because of these brutal actions, Israel had no choice but to eliminate this risk. Hamas has become stronger and stronger because of the Iranian support. So Israel now, because we don't have any other option, Israel has to eliminate this threat and risk on the civilians inside Israel, and we need to make sure that the Gazan people also will not be. Also, the Gazan people are living under the threat of Hamas. Many of Gazan people don't like Hamas, but they cannot do anything because they are under a threat that Hamas will do something to them. So Israel is now send announcements to the civilians of Gaza to evacuate the northern part of Gaza in order to get inside Gaza, in order to be able to release Gaza, the north part of Gaza, from Hamas leaderships and Hamas members. This is a situation that no other state and nation can tolerate. Imagine what can happen in Kashmir when terrorists will attack Indian villages if they launch missiles. If they will launch missiles on civilian in India, what should it be to do? What will do? The same thing Israel. Israel cannot tolerate anymore this. This was the red line that was
Okay, so
crossed, and there is no other option
okay, so
but
Dr.
to get
Barak,
inside
how does
Gaza.
this play out, sir? Yeah. How does this play out now? So if and when, and we're assuming now it's more of when and not if, the Israeli Defense Forces move into northern Gaza, what is the prognosis? Is it going to be a long-term occupation? Are they going to move in and then move out in a short period of time? What do you suspect is going to happen?
Look, I'm not among the decision makers. IDF, the Israeli army, knows better than I, but right now, Israel, IDF declared that it's will going to make sure to destroy the capability of Hamas to rule and its military capabilities, and that right now IDF is intent to get inside the northern part of Gaza Strip. The threat is that I think that Hamas did not make these brutal actions last week without the permission, let's say without the backup or the support of Hezbollah and Iran. I think it's something bigger than it's not a local battle in Gaza. It's a regional conflict. I think that Hamas got promises from Hezbollah and Iran that if something will happen to him, if Hamas will be under a threat of existential threat, then Hezbollah and Iranian militias can interfere and help him. So right now we see that Hezbollah in the north of Israel is trying to challenge Israel troops and launch missiles also to civilian cities inside Israel. I think it's bigger than that, because Iran is not interested that Israel and Saudi Arabia will normalize ties. So that's why we see that more volunteers, Shi'i volunteers from Iraq are coming to Syria next to the border with Israel, because they are waiting for a command from Iran. When Israel will get inside Gaza Strip, then there is a threat that Hezbollah and the Iranian militias will open another front in the north of Israel and also from Syria. Israel, of course, is prepared for that. Israel is backed by the US. There are also British troops next to Israel. So this is a regional war. It's not only a local. It's a part of Iranian scheme, Iranian plan, how to challenge the Western dominance in the region.
Right. So Dr. Barak, what happens then to the civilians in Gaza? Are you suspecting that Egypt and Jordan will open up borders, or at least the Egyptian will do so, and accept Palestinian refugees?
Right now, first of all, Jordan is not, I don't think it's part of the deal, because right now the Gazan people, they share border with Egypt. They are not sharing border with Jordan. So Jordan is out of the questions right now. Egypt, right now there are negotiations between the United States, Israel, and other nations with Egypt to open the border with Rafah to let to these Gazan people to find shelter in the Sinai Peninsula. Of course, Abd el-Fattah el-Sisi is not interested now to absorb, to get these refugees. Right now, it's too early to assess if Egypt will let these refugees to get inside the Sinai Peninsula. I think eventually there will be an agreement, and perhaps Egypt will let these refugees to get inside Sinai Peninsula for a temporary time. But this is something that it's too early to assess.
Let me just come back to something you specifically mentioned, which is the threat in the north from Hezbollah. In the event of a two-front war, you're saying that the Israeli Defense Forces are prepared, but what is the risk analysis of Hezbollah? What are they capable of? We know that they're capable of the rocket firing. We know they're capable of certain levels of infiltration. We know in the past that they've tried to dig tunnels under the barricaded border, but what is the capacity, and therefore what is the counter?
Yes, Israel has also secret weapons. He has secret weapons. United States sent Marines, sent battleships to deter Hezbollah and Iran not to interfere in the Gaza war. If something will happen in the north, if Hezbollah will decide to get inside the war and also Shia militias by the support of Iran, definitely Israel is capable to cope with the northern front and the southern front. And there are also secret weapons that Israel has not still used.
Okay, all right. Dr. Barak, what is your assessment of the larger situation? Now, we are expecting some movement, and you've said some conversations with Egypt, with third parties. Maybe the US is happening because some refugees will have to go into Egypt, into the Sinai Peninsula. We've discussed Lebanon in the north, we've discussed Syria. You mentioned Iran several times, whom you are still convinced are masterminding this or playing an active role in masterminding this. How does this change the dynamics? We have the I2U2, the Abraham Accords. How does it change the larger picture?
So right now, let's say that Iran succeeded in this plot. The attack in Gaza, the attack against civilian towns in Israel, managed to deter Saudi Arabia, or at least to brought Saudi to freeze the normalization with Israel. So this is one success. So we see that now Saudi Arabia is still interested to normalize ties with Israel, but this is not the right time because of the situation. Saudi Arabia is considered and wants to portray itself as the defenders of the two holy places in Islam, Mecca and Medina, and also as the defenders of the Palestinians. So right now, Saudi Arabia is not able to normalize ties. Even Israel now it's not prepared to normalize ties because of the situation. So in this regard, Iran managed to foil the intentions of Saudi Arabia and Israel to normalize ties. Regarding Egypt, so Egypt, until, let's say, has been playing a very important role in mediating between Hamas and to Israel to achieve a ceasefire every time that there was a war around between Israel to Hamas. And Egypt is still interested to play this role. Right now, Egypt is think that these refugees who will come from Gaza to Sinai Peninsula may have a threat on the national security of Egypt, because among these refugees there are also many Hamas members and Palestinian Islamic Jihad members who are pro-Iranians, and they can threaten the security of Egypt. Let's remember that in the Arab Spring, after the Arab Spring, the one that came to power was Mohammed Morsi, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, and thanks to Sisi, the Muslim Brotherhood lost their power in Egypt. So Sisi is not interested now that there will be a new Muslim Brotherhood from the Hamas and pro-Iranians members from the Palestinian Islamic Jihad that will threat his national security. So Egypt is trying to find a solution. And he is conducting negotiations with Israel and the United States to find a solution. I don't think there will be, let's say, right now, a huge threat on the geopolitical arena regarding Jordan and Egypt and Saudi Arabia. But of course, the more states can be drawn inside this battle, maybe Lebanon, by the influence of Hezbollah, maybe also the Syrian regime under the pressure of Iran. We know that the UAE sent a threat to Bashar al-Assad not to interfere in the battle between Hamas to Israel. So we have to wait and see if Bashar al-Assad will not interfere. But right now there are Hezbollah members, Shia militias members in Syria that can interfere in the war with Gaza and Israel. Regarding Sudan, made normalization with Israel. So because of Russian influence, because of Iranian influence. Maybe Sudan can cut the ties with Israel, but again, Sudan today is found under an internal dispute
Crisis, yeah.
between two juntas, military juntas. One is pro-Israeli and the other one is pro-Iranian. So it's too early to know who will win between these two military groups. But we have to remember that the Russian influence is become bigger in Africa, also in Sudan, because Russia wants to establish a port over there. If to sum up, the region can, the war between Gaza to Israel can become larger in the region. As I told you, Lebanon and Syria, even Yemen, the Houthis can interfere in this war.
Yeah, there is a whole host of complexities, but you can see something different emerging from the reaction so far. We'll have to wait and watch, because I don't think the escalation cycle is yet completed. Stay safe, Dr. Barak, for you and your family and friends where you are at this point of time. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.